Welcome to episode 10 of Euro Previews. Today's episode is on the country that captured the minds of everybody at the last Euros, and that's Denmark. But after that sensational run in 2021, they had an absolute flat Faxekondi and wet the bed at the World Cup. Can the fortunes change for this national team? Can they perform at this Euros? What will be the starting lineup and what will be the future of Hjulmand if it does go bad? Further ado, let's get into the preview and prediction for Denmark at this summer's Euros. So Denmark's history in Euros is wonderful. They have won the European Championship in 1992 with the sensational team that they had. And since then, it's been group stage, quarterfinals in 2004, and the group stage in 2012, where they were in a very tough group, and then they made it to the semifinals of the last Euros. So Denmark clearly are a team, when you think about European history, are a tough side to play. They're going to make it difficult defensively. They have very good attackers all the time, very good creative number 10s. Can they just piece it together? Well, they did that in 1992, and in last Euros, lost the first two games. Remember, people, Denmark lost the first two games to my nation, Finland. Obviously, a very unfortunate scenario happened in that game, and somehow they recovered, they rediscovered their form, they played a beautiful attacking football, and made it to the semi-final, and then we know what happened at Wembley. Denmark, I always appreciate this nation, because they're a nation that is not a huge population, but what they have is good organization. Their league has completely transformed like the last 3 decades. Now you see teams like Hjulmand doing well with the Right to Dream Academy connection. Obviously Hjulmand with the scouting they do. Brøndby, who will always be a competitive side in Denmark. And then FC Copenhagen, who always are performing in Europe and just made it to around the 16 of the Champions League. That just shows you Danish football is getting better and better and better. And when you look at their national team, a lot of their players play for big clubs. I envy Denmark a lot because as a fellow Nordic country, what I see Denmark do consistently with the sort of ballers they produce and able to have crazy transfers from Hjulmand to other European sides or FC Copenhagen to other European sides, I'm like, you can only applaud and say Danish football is doing it right. But with the history of the Euros, it's been, inconsistent. Good performances, inconsistent performances. We saw the last World Cup. I mean, that last World Cup was so bad. It just seemed, and yes, it could be outside circumstances why the team didn't perform. It was terrible. The team looked like they didn't want to be there. They played like it, and Hjulmand, I don't think he could get any sort of message across. I think the players were like, F this, we're going home, and they played like it, and they went out of the group stage. So can they turn around at this Euros? No doubt. They have the quality to do so. And I was fortunately able to watch a lot of Denmark during the qualifiers because they were in the same group as Finland. And one thing I could say about Denmark is they didn't play with that same sort of flair and attacking creativity that they did in 2020 and 2021. Where I'm like, Joachim Mæhle is balling out, Mikael Damsgaard, everybody's just playing with such confidence. Now it's a bit more hesitant, I feel like. Remember, they were 2-0 up away at Kazakhstan and lost 3-2. They drew with Slovenia. They lost to Northern Ireland. Yeah, they maybe fielded a B team in that game. I can't remember exactly. And then they drew in Switzerland and beat Faroe. I mean, if they lost Faroe Islands. So Denmark, during these qualifiers, they were not overly convincing. That's one thing you could say as a Danish fan is, did we look really good? Do we look like that same team from 2021? I wonder if the confidence of this team has gone down since that World Cup, which definitely could be. Having a shock exit like that, mentally it can affect a team and affect the manager. When I was watching the games, and especially the game here in Finland, I was at that game, I just kept looking at Denmark. I'm like, they're not going to score here. They had no creativity. They couldn't create anything out wide. They couldn't create anything down the middle. And the only goal in that game was a stunner by Højlund. Other than that, Finland were comfortable. So Denmark have to find that creative edge that they had. They have a wonderful striker in Rasmus Højlund, but the other players got to step up. There is definitely quality on this Danish team. Nobody's going to doubt there's quality on this team. But the one thing they have shown in these qualifiers is they're not clicking right now. They got 2 games in June against Sweden and Norway. We'll see how they do in those friendlies, and can they find that sort of chemistry that they did in 2021? Or is it now like, we got an older generation, we got a little bit of a middle generation, and we have some young and up-and-coming ballers. Hjulmand had a disaster of a World Cup. Couldn't find any formation, 0 tactics, and it just seemed like he had no connection with the players. But we cannot deny, in 49 games in charge of Denmark, he has 31 wins, 5 draws, 13 losses. That's a 63 winning percentage. That's absurd. That's actually fantastic. Yes, you can talk about the opponents that they have faced like San Marino and other teams, but that is a great record. And Kasper Hjulmand, is he under pressure to perform at this Euros? I would say yes, because after having a debacle of a World Cup like that, you need to respond as a manager. You need to find the right formation. And I feel like during the qualifiers, they would go from 3-4-3, 4-3-3, then a 3-5-2. He just tried so many different formations. Either he's just trying to find the perfect one to use at the Euros, or he's confused on what do I play with the players I have. So Kasper Hjulmand's got to show at this Euros that he is a good manager, which he is. He is a good manager. He showed it at the last Euros. If he doesn't perform here, then I think the Danish FA have to say to themselves, we might need to go in a new direction. But is he under pressure like a Gareth Southgate or other managers? No, because those managers have really high expectations. The expectation for Denmark, I would say, is around a 16 quarterfinal performance. Somewhere around there. Can Kasper Hjulmand do that? Yep. With these players? He should. Rasmus Højlund. I saw the unfortunate experience of him scoring a hat-trick against my nation. I said, okay, this kid is for real. Like, he's good. I think that shows the quality that this striker has. I really like Rasmus Højlund. I think he gets a lot of stick at Man United, but Man United are a disaster. They're the fire festival of clubs right now. We all know that. So, do we think Rasmus Højlund can truly flourish? Yes, with Ten Hag's tactics and everything going around United, the roof is leaking, all that sort of stuff. Yes, he's going to face some adversity and criticism. It's Man United. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. But he's also 21 years old. We have to remember that. To put all the pressure on this kid to score all the goals, because do you think Antony's going to score? Do you think Garnacho's going to score all the goals? Rashford? Højlund has had a lot of pressure to perform at an exceptional level when I don't think he's ready for that step. He's growing. He's growing into a player, In the past 3 years, he has gone from FC Copenhagen to Sturm Graz to Atalanta to Man United. He spent 6 months at Sturm Graz, I think 1 season at Atalanta, and then made the move to Manchester United. So he's constantly on the move, different tactics here, from Gasperini to Ten Hag to whoever the manager was at Sturm Graz. You have to give him time. He is not that sort of player like Zlatan was at like 1920. Zlatan in 1920 was insane. Rasmus Højlund is not that. Can Rasmus Højlund turn into a very good striker? No doubt. He can be. So at this Euros, I just want to see him do well. That's all. He's not under pressure to be the main guy for Denmark. But he can be. He just got 7 goals and 12 appearances for Denmark. That's pretty good. For a guy who's only been with the national team, I think a year and a half or something like that. It's pretty good numbers. So he's going to have a lot of expectation with this Danish team, because if you look at their strikers, a lot of them, yeah, they're good, like Kasper Dolberg, but like I said at the last Euros, Kasper Dolberg will show you one good game and the rest, quiet. That's just my opinion at least. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think these Euros are a good platform for Rasmus Højlund to show what sort of striker he is. Not the mess of Man United. He can be in a good environment with the Danish national team and flourish, and maybe they can play to his strengths. His strengths are making runs down the channel and linking up play. I think Rasmus Højlund has actually good link-up play. He's not going to be a guy who's dribbling at defenders like that. No. He's a poacher, and he's an elite finisher. Can finish with the left foot, the right foot. I really like Rasmus Højlund. Hopefully he has a big Euros. Now let's get to lineups. This is going to be a very intriguing debate with this Danish national team, because they have gone 4-3-3, 3-4-3, 3-5-2. Kasper Hjulmand, I think, is confused on what is the best formation with these players. So let's have a debate, and you get your formations and you get your lineups in the comments down below. What should be the lineup and formation for Denmark at this Euros? In goal, of course, Kasper Schmeichel has done very well with the national team. But I do like this goalkeeper, Frederik Rønne from Union Berlin. I think he should be in contention to start at least. The 3 center backs, I would go with Joachim Andersen, Jannik Vestergaard, and Andreas Christensen. Simon Kjær is a wonderful leader. We saw the documentary on Netflix of leaders, and he was just exceptional to how he presented himself as a captain. I have nothing about that. On the football field, though, you can just tell the legs are gone. He's just not that same guy like he was in 2021, where he had a real presence on the team. He can be a presence as a leader, but on the field, that's where I would worry. And Christensen, I think, is a very good defender. Joachim Andersen has been beasting it with Crystal Palace lately. Vestergaard can be a problem if he's isolated 1-on-1 on the outside, because he doesn't have the pace, but this is a good team still. Defensively, they can be strong. Joachim Mæhle, I think, will be the right wing back, and the left wing back will be Victor Christensen from Bologna. That's a pretty good defense if you ask me. The midfield, though. Now, the midfield is another intriguing debate. I like Pierre Højlund, and I think he does perform for the Danish national team, so he's probably going to start. And then you need to have some legs, though, in the midfield. So if you're going to go with Thomas Delaney and Christian Eriksen, I think that's a recipe for disaster. What it should be, in my opinion at least, is obviously Pierre Højlund. I would start Morten Hjulmand. I think he's been excellent with Sporting this season, obviously leading them to a Portuguese title. I think he's a really good player. Now, I know he's had a couple appearances with the Danish national team during qualifiers. I think he started that 2-0 away to Northern Ireland. Morten Hjulmand, if you watch his play, he can be that guy who can drive with the ball. He can be a box-to-box, and Højlund can be that sitting number 6. And then Christian Eriksen can just be the creator. One player I want to highlight, though, is Matt O'Reilly. I really like this guy from Celtic. He's got like almost 20 goals this season for a midfielder. And what do you go with up front? The issue is Mohamed Daramy is out injured, which is a shame because I think he finally is getting some good minutes at Rem, and he's had a pretty good season, and he's injured. It's a shame. But obviously Rasmus Højlund is going to start. Do you go with Kasper Dolberg next to him? What about Mikael Damsgaard? Is he that still the same guy? I know he's struggled with injuries, not been great. Transferred to Brentford in the last couple of years. Andreas Skov Olsen from Club Brugge has also had a good year. So it's a bit of a conundrum for Kasper Hjulmand on what should be Denmark's starting 11. I think you need some legs in the midfield. That formation up top would be a disaster, especially with those 3 guys in the midfield, because they don't have the legs. They have the football IQ. They can read the game well. They can pass the ball well. But if they're going to play that sort of formation and lineup against a France or an England or Portugal or Spain, they're going to get run over. Denmark have the ability to play different formations and different tactics, and we've seen that with Kasper Hjulmand, but they need to stick to one formation for those 2 friendlies. Just test it out, and if it works, it works. You cannot change 4-3-3 one game, 3-4-3 the next game. I don't think it's going to work. You have to build the chemistry and have the same lineup as well so the guys can build chemistry with each other. But let me know your thoughts, people. What would be your starting 11 for Denmark? So how far will Denmark go at this Euros? I think for me, it's a round of 16 or a quarterfinal. Now, if they go out of the group stage in this group, they have a familiar opponent in Slovenia. They obviously beat them once and drew with them once. Then you have Serbia. Denmark are a better team than Serbia. I expect 3 points against Serbia. They can't defend. Rasmus Højlund should be eating in that game. And England, you can get a draw. Yeah, you can get a draw. So I think 6 points is feasible in this group for Denmark, and that's clearly going to be enough to finish second in the group and advance to the round of 16. Now, the problem will be if they go up against Germany or Italy or Spain, it's going to be a tough opponent, but Denmark have shown they can keep a clean sheet, they can score, but do they have the sort of quality within the entire squad to really surprise opponents? You know, on that run to the last Euros, they played Wales, Czech Republic, and obviously played England, so Denmark wants some revenge on England. That is for sure. So let me know your thoughts, people. I feel like Denmark are going to make it to the round of 16, and that's when they bow at home. And I don't think that's actually the worst of performances considering what we saw at the World Cup. The World Cup was a disgrace. If you can get around to 16, good. Build some confidence, and then head into the World Cup qualifiers, and the goal is to qualify for the next World Cup. But thank you all for watching. There is the preview and prediction for Denmark at this Euros. Really intrigued to see what Kasper Hjulmand is going to do with the lineup, but get your thoughts in the comments down below. How far do you think Denmark are going to progress? What is your starting lineup? And who's the most underrated player on this team? I think it's Matt O'Reilly from Celtic. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. The next episode will be on Serbia. Adios.